So I'm going to do a dungeon run for you guys. We've done 3 perfect runs, complete clears, with no red scrolls used or anything like that. So kind of show you guys how what my squad's built of and how we're managing this. So mages and tanks are a primary mechanism that help you win in dungeons. Uh, I'm running. Let me just go ahead and get this. Yeah, that's good. So I'm running primarily. I got 2 res mages, 1 heal mage, 1 damage mage, 1 insta-kill mage, which is slightly different from a damage mage, uh, and then 1 real tank, 1 damage tank, which is a teleporter with an axe, but in tank armor, and then 1 archer. Um, Similar to my gem-based setup, I'm using all of my mages are using the spellcaster, or now they're called enchanter for certain triggers, artifacts, which lets them cast their spells more often when the triggers happen in exchange for losing some of their auto attack damage, which is really not what you have your mages there for. So usually considered a pretty good trade-off. So as you're going through, unless there is a node that where resurrection doesn't happen, you're going to kind of want to always have 2 res mages in the party, whether that's 2 from you or 1 from you and 1 from your partner. When you see these guys, they have a tendency to they are ranged and they focus on either magers or archers. So some of these are mage attackers, some of them are archer attackers. Um, Either way, it's critically important that you do a couple of things when you run into those guys. One, you want a teleporter that can kill them from behind, and 2, you want to have enough resing power in your party that your mages can die possibly a couple times in any given fight and still come back. Um, and if you get a node that has those guys and resurrection doesn't work, uh, avoid it if you can and do it last because you're pretty guaranteed to lose some mages uh, in those fights. So the scales can be interesting. The scales give you a buff and a debuff, and there are times when you'll want to try and avoid them if you can. Sometimes you can't. They actually put them in your path. You can see here they are avoidable based on the available paths. So we're going to take a look at what that is, and if it's good, artifacts won't work. Okay, so if it's something useful, we'll take them, and if not, we'll skip it. So now we're gonna get. Oh no, not yet. There were 2 artifacts won't work in battle. I'm confused. I could have sworn we just did this one. Maybe not. No, there was two artifacts don't work in battle. Ugh. I'm actually gonna go both Rezzers here because I can't depend on my artifacts to let my Res Mages trigger 3 times. So now we'll get a chance to see what the scales look like. So spell power is almost always good. An archer health, yes. I'm going to tell my partner here to go to scales. Um, Generally speaking, I like archer debuffs because they are not as useful. Archers in general, like, you know, you'll notice most of these fights we're using mages and warriors. All right, so this is no modifiers at all. Nothing particularly special about this, so I'm gonna go ahead and use this moment to heal up some of our guys. That's an important thing to consider too when you're doing these. If you got a fight that doesn't look like it's going to be too um, too bad, um, you may want to consider using that fight to heal some of your fighters for future fights. It's also something if you have a fight, an easy-ish fight that you can pass, like these ones, we're actually saving these in case we get jacked up and need to heal up some fighters. We can use these fights to do that with. All right, Mistress, this one, she summons a bunch of minions, so it's good to have some AE fighters for this. When you're doing dungeons, it's a good idea to check back every once in a while because sometimes one of those uh, little events will happen in one of your rooms and it'll completely drain your castle happiness because it'll just continue going while you're in your dungeon. All right, let's do that. Let's see. Yeah, I want that and that for AE, that for additional. No, we'll do. We still need some res and we need some heals. That'll work. So provided you have the AE to deal with her ads, this fight's actually pretty easy, and it's also a good opportunity to heal up some of your fighters often. Okay, we're gonna move on to this fight. This fight shouldn't be too bad. Go back here and check on my. this and this. Now, when it's a 3 and 3, this is kind of our go-to. He brings his tank, I bring my teleporting Axer, and then we each bring a res and we each bring a heal. It's kind of our go-to formation uh, for a lot of these basic fights that are kind of long, and we've generally been very successful with that. We got the Goblin King. He can be kind of tough, but as long as we have enough reses and healers, we should survive it. And that's key. There are a lot of, with the exception of a couple bosses, there are a couple of bosses that don't let you res, um, and it's where it's not about longevity. It's about killing them as quickly as possible. Smoke comes to mind. Uh, the Gatekeeper is another really nasty one. But most of the bosses, so you need to have a strategy to deal with those particular one-offs. But most of the bosses, being able to survive, and for most of the rest of the fights, being able to survive is key, so that you don't have to lose your fighters along your way while you're heading there. Okay, it looks like he wants to do that, which is fine. We can do some. Just mop up the ones that we'd been saving. Go ahead and mop this one up too. All right, so this is where, especially near the end, this is where the insta kill comes in. This is an orb that will instantly kill the target if it has less than 35% health. This is where, on the bosses, this can be very powerful, but it does have a downside in that it's going to kill. Um, it's going to kill that mage when it happens. So it's a sacrifice that you make. You decide to leverage your insta kill, um, and as part of that, that mage will die with that attack. So that's a dungeon run. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.